Hello and welcome to this another version of Stampscapes Quick Cards Stamp-Along. Okay, we have a 4x6 folded card, so 6 inches by 8, fold it in half. Now the reason why I'm going 4x6 is that just happens to be the size that you get printed, enlargements made from different places. They don't have 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 or something like that. Now you can do it if you're printing these at home and you just go quarter page or something like that. But 4x6 up top and 4x6 of the silver foil down below to give us that really great mirrored type of reflection like that. Okay, so I'm going to use this cloud and blue sky type of print up top, just because it has more contrast like that, and it's more effective in the reflected area down below. You can go with whatever you want up here. It could be a sunset or something like that, and that would be really dramatic. But what I'm getting at is that I'm not going to include that quote stamp up there, just because I don't like the idea of text running across something that's really light into something really dark like that. It's, that's not something that's going to contribute to readability, having that hard contrast in the background. If I had to use it, I would use it on this side, but I'm going to use the same imagery here, like that up top here like that. Okay, now I can almost use this print up here that I already did yesterday, but the thing is that I have this space right in here, and that would represent that water, where the water starts. So it would be like the water's going up there and like that. So you can see this big gap in between. So it's better if you stamp your shore types of imagery right on the edge here, going into this area right here, because this is supposed to represent the water. You don't want the water to be going like this, and then up, and then the objects up there. Usually, I've seen people do that. And it doesn't look bad, but I think it tends to look better if it looks like it's right on the shoreline down there. So when it comes to something like this, you want to put that right on the edge there. Or, you can go down a little bit lower, but just have that space filled up. Okay, so here's the thing here. Here's the thing that you're going to have to think about. Now, I think I can use stays on this top part. I can't remember if I've used that or not. But this type of paper is really better for water-based media. So I'm going to use dye-based inks for my imagery up top, and then stays on for the imagery on the silver, okay? So just remember to adjust for what you're stamping on, okay? In terms of your media. Okay, now I can use my paint pens. I guess I will use them, but I tell you what, since I'm doing this, I'm just stamping this in black. I think I will add a little bit of color. Just inherently in here. All right, now you're going to be saying, wait a minute, what? You're going to use like red over black? It's going to pollute your red. It does. But, I've been using these pens for 30 years, and you just kind of go like this with them. These are Marvy 1500 series markers. And you can do that with them. These pens are just so juicy. Now, I don't know how much of the black I'm removing down here. It just depends how wet your pens are. If this is really super juicy, then it's going to transfer on there. If this is really dry, then you're probably going to be absorbing more of the black into the pen. So if you're doing this type of thing, just have a little bit of a decent amount of ink in your pen. All right, so lining this up and going a little bit below this bottom portion of my paper. My cloud print. These cloud prints are on my Flickr account, okay? I don't know whether there are a couple dozen of them. Free for download and printing out. if you'd like to use these, you can use your own and really make it real personalized. Sometimes when people start doing photo stamping, it makes them kind of a better observer or active observer of the sky because they're always kind of hunting really cool sky situations, you know, because they can use it in their stamping. So, you know, people are, you know, out ready to get you know, shots with photos with their cameras now, and everyone has a, you know, camera on their phone these days. So before you know, a lot of people wouldn't do that because they'd be carrying around a you know, an actual camera with them or something like that, or especially the days in film. Okay, so you can see that little tinge of red up there. So let's see, that's going to give me a little bit of a head start with the coloring, just having that color inherent in the actual print. And I guess I could have gone down a little bit lower right down here, but this kind of goes down in this area right here. So I'm going to fill that in with a little bit of a tone. All right, so I tell you what, now, because we're using the second component of this area right in here, I'm going to put some more trees down in the left and right hand corner so that it kind of obscures a little bit. Here's what this is looking like right now. See this, you know, this wedge right here where the reflection of this doesn't fill in like this at a 90-degree angle. We're going to put a little bit of a tree here. I don't need to fill up this whole area, but I want to fill in a little bit of it. So it'll also frame off this lower section. So just remember to switch off to your StazOn ink. It doesn't have, I don't know, StazOn's the brand. There might be some other types of permanent inks out there that you can use. Solvent inks in general, okay? Test them out, see if they work for your foil. Some people tell me, oh, I tried something, you know, and it just didn't work. You make it look so easy. And I'll say, well, what did you use on the foil? And they'll tell me, well, I use my VersaFine Clair or something like that. You know what I mean? VersaFine Clair is awesome. But it's an oil-based pigment ink, so it's never going to dry on something like this. All right, so you can substitute some things on some surfaces, but some media surface combinations just really aren't compatible. So, I mean, like, you know, so I'll just tell them, hey, well, okay, you don't have a StazOn pad, you don't have a Brilliance pad, you know, it's going to dry in here. Go with your VersaFine, look at my hands right here from those pens. Go with your VersaFine Clair on here, and then if they have some, you know, embossing powder, emboss it over that silver. So there's things that you can do to, you know, to make do. Okay, so I'm stamping a lot of this off the page. I just want the trees on here to kind of frame off the scene a little bit, or a lot, and to give it some foreground. It's just going to be like a silhouette down here. You can use other types of designs too, but what this does is it gives us kind of a near shoreline to this body of water that we're doing. Okay, you see I'm holding this down a little bit longer because I want that ink to transfer and to start setting up on that surface right there, and you really get a really great impression like that, okay? Now that's going to dry and adhere on that, no problem. You know, I'm pretty sure StazOn. I mean, I've seen it used on a lot of different things. I've seen it used on glass, plexiglass. I knew someone that stamped on saw blades. I can't remember what she colored with, but this is like 20 years ago. But yeah, StazOn for saws. And they were really cool. Really folk art-ish looking, okay? But yeah, so it really adheres, and it, you know, it's a quick drying medium, so really cool. All right, I don't know if that's dry quite yet, but let's take a look at this in context, okay? See that right there? Look at that foreground like that. And then see, it kind of obscures this little, edge right down here. Not completely, but, enough. All right. Now looking at that and the background, I'm thinking that this in the background, or the foreground, the background, might be real similar. So I think tell you what, I think I'm going to add in a little bit of extra grassy reeds here. Let me see, let me use the larger one here. We'll add one stamp to the mix here. Okay, so I'm going to go with this. Very non-porous surface, so kind of make sure you don't do this like too fast, okay, because I want to make sure that I'm not skewing this, because it's a real, if you haven't stamped on foil, it might be the most slippery surface you've ever used. Now, I'm not having any problem with it, but sometimes you got to kind of get a little bit of a feel for it at first, okay? So if you need to stamp on a piece of scrap one, just to get the feel of it, because what I'm saying is that sometimes you stamp it down if you're doing too fast, you kind of move it a little bit like that. And it's just because the ink on a real slippery surface like this, slick surface, it gets, it's easy to skew. So you see those little grassy reeds down there? So it kind of pushes, I don't know, depth a little bit more, I think, like that. Okay. All right, now while we're doing that, let's get our little boating guy in here. Okay, now I've been stamping him up high on my other scenes like this, but what does he represent? He represents water. So remember, this is the water right here, and it goes down here, so you're going to stamp him somewhere in here. I can see where this is reflecting down here, so you don't want to stamp him here because this is reflecting right down, and then you wouldn't be able to see it. So anywhere like in this area right here, I'd say would be a fantastic choice for that object, okay? I'm going to say, let's go about right here. Let's see. I'm keeping my finger there just so I can see it. I left a little smudgy fingerprint there. I'll just stamp it right onto that. My little targeted area. Little objects like this, that thing that I mentioned about wobbling it, just go straight down and be fairly decisive. Okay. Don't readjust, after you make contact. Now, if you do, if it's the stays on, you can wipe it off with a little alcohol and start over again, or stays on cleaner. All right, we have our little fisherman there. Let's take a look and just show you what it looks like here. Look how three-dimensional it looks like he's, out there on the water on a super mirrored surface like that. All right, now we see this up here. See how anemic that rocky area is? Let's go into it. A lot of you have different types of alcohol inks. And let's color that rocky area with some tone. You can go with some gray tones or something like that. We'll grab a little bit of green tinge. Here's a brownish gray, something like that. Maybe that's a little bit too blue there. Oh, let's see. Here's a gray. All right, so I'm just going down here and coloring it right in. Remember what we colored, or what we stamped this image in? It was a water-based dye ink, right? So these alcohol pens are not going to put that ink back into solution. So I don't have any problem coloring this and smearing anything in here, okay? No, just as long as the ink's dry. I mean, if I just stamped it like a second ago and started coloring in here, it might not be set up yet. See these areas down here on these rocks, like on the tops of some of these rocks, I'm going to leave them a little bit lighter like that, like they're reflecting some of that sunlight. There's no sun in the scene, but you know, it's reflecting off of these clouds. Here's a little bit of green. Okay. Get some of that in there. It's like moss on the rocks next to the water. I'm not coloring everything. Some of it, it's like, I'm going like this, kind of. They call that scumbling. Now, if you want to, if you put too much of some color, then use your blender pen or go back to a lighter pen and just kind of go in there and remove some of that alcohol ink. Which you can do because this alcohol ink is really sitting very much on the surface of the paper. So you can kind of go in there. I don't know if you can remove it completely, but, you know, I wouldn't really be doing that anyway, but you can really blend it really well on this type of photo paper. This photo paper is not absorbent. And I think that should do it. All right, now let's go in and let's add a little bit of tone to those fall colored leaves. So there's like these darker areas right here, and this is a lighter color than that darker area. So I'm kind of putting it like in this little dark region right here. I'm putting it on the top area of it, so it looks like it's being top lit. I mean, it's not like if you put one of these little dots on the bottom side of it, it's like, oh my God, you know, I changed the lighting or anything like that. It's not like that. But just in general, I kind of tweak things. You know, it looks like the light is hitting it in a certain way. Okay, so I'm putting some of these little fallen leaves onto my rocks right in here. But what's really fun to do is we can take some of this too, like this. And what you do is you put a few little dots like this in your water, okay? So it looks like the leaves are kind of floating in the water. Yeah, something like that. I'll show you what this looks like, you know, when we pair it up. All right, let's grab a yellow here. This one's pretty bright yellow. Should I do that? Let's go for it. I'll use a little bit less of this this time. I used quite a bit of it yesterday, but I think on this one, I think I'm gonna use a little bit less, just because it's getting mirrored down below. So I don't know. We'll take a look at it and see if we we need to add some more. Okay, one of the things I was doing yesterday was, I don't know, those trunks are all pretty light already because I stamped it over the cloud in the background, which is light in that area. But let's see if this white shows up at all in here. Yeah, a little bit. I can bring some of it up into my branches within the tree. Okay, and then you can put some highlights on some of your rocks in here. Okay, let's take a look at this and see how it's going. I'll show you those reflections of those leaves and the floating leaves in the water. Okay, so you have that. We have our little fisherman down there. Look at the color reflecting down in there. But see these little leaves floating around in the water right here? See them like that? So it makes for some fun stuff. All right, now here's the, I don't know, whatever. The thing that makes it look really advanced, okay? And it's going to be a really easy technique. It's what I've been doing all along. You're going to grab a piece of, or a cotton ball, 100% cotton ball, and you're going to grab your Brilliance ink, okay? Now on this one, you probably could use a oil-based pigment ink because you're not laying down a really thick impression in pigment ink on top of this, okay? Like an oil-based white clair or something like that, okay? We're just dabbing down a little bit of tone here. But I'm going to try to make this look like, you know, some of this whatever outcropping of, you know, rocks and tree. It's going to be sitting kind of in, you know, that same kind of misty cloud that we're stamping it over. So what we're doing is there's clouds in the background and then kind of a cloudy formation, right? That's what mist is, moisture, suspended moisture. And we're putting it in front of this. So kind of use a really light touch, okay? You don't want to use a lot. You want it kind of diffused, but I'm trying to vary it a little bit where it's a little bit thicker in one area. But do you see that right there? See, I'm just putting a little bit over here just to vary it a little bit, okay? And you can even put, you know, a little bit back here in these trees like this. So what you're doing is you're kind of enveloping your object right here that's been stamped in here in this misty kind of cloud like this, okay? And when you do something like that, you're going from, you know, a visual statement here, you know, things are visual, and you're kind of making things a little bit more kinesthetic, you know, you're wrapping something around something in here. It visually feels like that a little bit more. See, like this little bit of cloud down here? So you get that coming around in the front, okay? And let's see what that looks like in here, okay? So look how that looks now with that little bit of haze. And then, of course, it's reflecting down in the water as well, like that. Okay, now I'm not going to take the time to tag this down, but what you do is you just take your, you know, your tape runner or something like that, you know, tape this down, pair it up like this, do it one at a time, get it locked into place like that, and then you run your tape runner on this. You can use a adhesive spray too, and you'll get those two locked down like that. Open and close a couple times just to get it moving a little bit. And then on the front, you can do whatever. You know, it'd be good is on the front part, you have your quote stamp, you know, autumn is the second spring, where every leaf is a flower, something like that. You can keep it kind of within theme like that. But there's your piece like this. Get it locked down. Oh, here's another thing like this too. You don't want to have a gap in between, you know, this top layer and bottom layer like that. So really get them paired up. But what I do is I take this and I throw like a Sharpie pen and put it black right in the middle there, so that if I don't get it butted up right against one another, a black line doesn't really show up as much as, you know, a white line. Well, I don't know. In this case, it's real light over there, so I don't know. But yeah, I usually like to go with a black cardstock foundation on the outside, because it's almost like, because when you open this up, all the light kind of reflects out like that. So it's kind of fun. You know, it sets up kind of a, I don't know, sequential scenario of going from something dark on the outside to something light on the inside. You know, it's like reflecting back at the, you know, whoever you give this to, their face. All right, so let's take a look and see some of these pieces right here. This takes a little bit longer, of course, because we're stamping a couple different, components in here like that. But here's, relatively quick card types of scenarios right here. Some of them take like 5 minutes, some 10 minutes. I think this one took a little bit longer, 20 or something. I don't know, whatever. And we're at the 25-minute mark right here on this one right here. But decent amount of techniques right here. You have water-based impressions, coloring of the trees, with the pens. Down here we have stays on impressions. This one down here is like super easy with just the impressions like that. You're just stamping them in black basically. A couple little dots down there, with the floating leaves. And then just going back in, coloring this with their alcohol pens. A little bit of that Brilliance white ink right down there. That Brilliance white ink really makes a big difference, doesn't it, though? It changes the feel of it a little bit, or tweaks it a little bit. I think it looks fine without it, too. But it just makes it look more full. It's just like this one right here with that little extra Brilliance ink on there. You can really see where I've used it on this one because it's on a kind of a darker background than this one. But see how it gives it that kind of that feel. Same thing right down here. I didn't use any Brilliance ink on this one. But that one also took like, besides the sun like that. This could have really been done kind of in a tan color too. Maybe that'd be kind of interesting. Or if you did this in orange, now that I look at this, that would be kind of cool. But anyways, some different looks right here. Fun stuff. Maybe I can put little birds up here or something like that. They would reflect down in the water. But anyways, you can make your choice, to add a little bit of extra things in here if you want to. But fun stuff with reflections on this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you hit the like button if you like this type of content and this channel. And thanks so much for watching.